All right, we're recording now.
And we're recording.
Yeah.
Wonderful. My fish just stopped moving. It's not dead. Never mind.
That's why.
Yeah. That's the best way that you want to fish is not dead, unless you're trying to eat it.
Yeah.
I ate a fish with the head on it and the tail and everything
Oh
recently.
yeah. Hmm.
That's a traumatizing experience to look your meal in the eye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a fit. We had salmon last night.
Yeah.
I chefed it up. It's pretty good actually.
Mm. This is a very interesting conversation. We're delving deep.
Yeah, I had to hit my water. Well, last time we talked about like Gravity Falls and politics and stuff.
Yeah.
you know,
Oddly enough.
most topics out there.
Gravity Falls, politics. We hit the big two.
Yeah.
What are we missing here?
I don't know. A few days ago, like I was trying to think about like what we talk about in our next episode, and
Yeah.
I had I like read a bunch of articles. Like, did you hear about that guy who like who got killed like jogging or whatever?
No. Oh,
Really?
the guy, I forget his name,
The black guy?
but I think I heard about him. Yeah. Well, I don't remember his name though. I'm trying. It's like
Ahmed
a.
Ahmed Aubrey.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard about him. I
Yes.
didn't hear the story though.
Okay, so essentially, he was going on a jog in his neighborhood,
Yeah.
and this retired law enforcement guy and his son thought he looked like someone who had been like a robbery, like who they people been doing like B&Es, like breaking and entering in that
Yeah.
neighborhood,
Hmm.
and they were like, this guy is black, and the guy who did it is also black, so we think this guy did it, and they like followed him as he was on his jog, and they like yelled at him like, hey man, like stop, whatever. So of course he didn't because he just kept jogging. He's, what the heck is this?
Yeah.
And they sent like one of their friends up to like stop, like get cut off his path with the truck. And
Yeah.
then huh?
I just said yeah.
Okay, yeah. So they cut him off or whatever.
Active. Yeah.
Yeah, and when he like went up to talk to the guy who got out of the truck, the dude had a shotgun and tried to shoot him. And of course
Dang.
he like reacted. He was like, whoa, and like tried to like, move the gun or whatever. And the dude shot him twice, like point blank range with a shotgun,
Ooh.
and then he was dead. And the thing is, this happened like a few months ago. And the
Oh,
guys
really?
were yeah, and the guys were never arrested. Like, so it was obviously a big thing on social media when the video got leaked because these dudes literally just killed this guy. Like, they followed him, cornered him, and then murdered him in cold blood. Like, there was no like reason, there was nothing other than they thought he looked like the guy who could have done it, and all they knew was that it was a black guy who did it. So you see a black guy running, you're like, this guy must be the guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they just chased after him. The thing is, they recorded the whole thing,
Why?
and they just did, like, they planned it out. Like, they recorded the whole thing. They like knew his route. They made sure to cut him off to where he couldn't run away. Like, it was like everyone was saying like it was reminiscent of like a lynching because it was a planned, essentially, killing of this guy. Now of course they were
Yeah.
like, we didn't plan to kill him, but the dude literally gets out of his car. He's like imagine like you're on a jog, some dudes are following you, right?
Yeah.
So one of them pulls his truck in front of you, gets out, puts a shotgun in your face. You're going to try to move it or whatever, and then he
Yeah.
shoots you. Like, I mean, the freak,
Yeah.
whatever. What are you supposed to do about that? So,
Why put a shotgun in his face if you're not planning on killing him?
exactly. And then it's
Yeah.
like,
So,
how do you expect him to react? Because the guy
yeah.
was all
Exactly.
like, well, he reached for my gun. It's like, you got out and you lowered the
Yeah.
shotgun, like, if like on this area, and he just went
Yeah.
like that. and because he shoots once, like he gets out of the car, the guy's like, "Hey man, what are you doing?" And he shoots once and misses. So the guy's like, "Hey," and tries to like swat the gun, but he like recorrects it and shoots him in the chest twice. And then it's a shotgun, so the guy just like falls down and he like dies or whatever.
Dang.
But they keep recording the whole time. Like their guy who was in the truck just kept recording the whole time. And
Dang.
then eventually they all like drove, like they rounded each other up and they're like, all right, we gotta get out of here, and they leave. And even though it had been 3 months after it happened, no arrests were ever made. Like it was just kind of like, yeah, that guy got killed, but like chill.
Really?
Yeah.
Is there a trial now?
Well, yeah. So what happened is the plot thickened once the video got released because people saw like I mean, the dude recorded the whole thing, like
That's
literally.
just like if you're that's just a stupid move on his part.
Well, yeah, but not only
Well,
that, it's like, why would you do that? Like,
yeah. Why would you do that? But also, why would you record that?
yeah,
It's it's that's just
yeah.
evil.
So the thing has happened. Apparently, some police tried to make an arrest, but the DA, which is who the guy who killed the guy worked for,
Mm-hmm.
the guy who killed Ahmed, him and his son were the ones who killed him. But he worked for the DA, so the DA
How old was
said,
the son?
"Huh?"
How old was the son?
Like in his 30s.
Oh,
Thing is, the police tried to arrest him, and the DA was all like, "Yeah, don't do that." Like she wouldn't issue a warrant for their arrest. She just said not to arrest him. So they just got away with it for like months. And only once the video was released, a bunch of lawyers were like, they took it to the state, and they were like, you have to arrest these guys. Like you don't get to just
yeah.
murder people and not go to jail. Like what is this? So
Makes you wonder how often that happens and it doesn't get recorded and it just
yeah,
goes under the radar.
exactly. Well, and that was the whole thing, right? So like, of course, as a black person, I was like, rip the dream. And it's like
Yeah.
it sparked a bunch of conversations at my house about like just like kind of realities of like being a black person. How with this guy, it's like you're jogging in your own neighborhood, like nothing suspicious. Like, you literally just jogging, and these guys
Yeah.
decided that guy looks like the guy who robbed the people.
That they
And
hadn't
this
even seen a picture of?
no, all they knew was that the guy knew from being in law enforcement that it was a black man who had been breaking into the houses. So with that being his data, he was like, that is a black man. Therefore, I think
Yeah.
it was the middle of the day. It was like 2 p.m. and he was on a jog. Like if he's been breaking and entering in houses at night, why is he just jogging through the neighborhood like during the day, like at
Yeah.
2 p.m.?
That doesn't make any sense.
So yeah, so that's the whole point, is that it was such a, and the thing is, it was such a callous killing.
Yeah.
And even with the video footage, the law enforcement still didn't make an arrest for 3 months because they didn't have to. Like the DA just
Wait,
said not to, and they didn't. And only once again, when the video came into the public eye, because it got leaked, did something happen.
yeah. Who's the DA? Is she getting or is he or she getting punished for this?
She's like under investigation or whatever.
Yeah, she should be.
Yeah,
That's just evil.
exactly. So there was that whole thing. It's like I always thought it. Like for me, I didn't even used to like. I never go running in my own neighborhood in Vintners Wood
Yeah.
because you know it's just part of being a black person in the South. Like there are certain things that you're just kind of like,
Yeah.
because there was a time when I went jogging in my neighborhood, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, it was like probably like 7 p.m. And I was like jogging up the hill, whatever. And these people, and the thing is, the people at the back of the neighborhood, they never knew who we were, right?
Yeah.
Because like they were old to the neighborhood. Like all the new people in the neighborhood, they'd always see us and be like, whatever.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of a thing. And these people had been like getting out of their car, right? But they just
Hmm.
got home, they're all getting out of their car, and they saw me like jogging up. So they all got back in the car. And I heard them like lock it or whatever. And they waited till I had jogged past, and then everyone got back out of the car and like went into the house. And I was just like, understandable. Like, I guess. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like I live in this neighborhood. And I know I've lived in here longer than they have. But people who don't know you, like, and they see that you're black, they just assume like this guy could be dangerous.
Yeah.
And it's kind of just a reality you have to accept. And for us, like there were a lot of times where we go to the pool and stuff, and like they'd report to like the neighborhood watch or like whatever, that like there's a group of like noisy, children creating disturbances or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, and then like, it was always a thing of like the neighborhood people would come out, or they'd say like, we're going to call the police if like there's, whatever.
Hmm.
And it's just kind of like when you look at, you know, as a black person, like the power dynamics. I mean, anybody's any race of person. The power
Yeah.
dynamics you have when a cop, decides that you're being a disturbance,
Yeah.
and it just happens to be with black people, you have an even slimmer, you know, margin for error. Like
Yeah.
you can't slip up. And I've always been like, I don't want to just get killed for some random reason. So it's like for that, I never ran in my neighborhood. I never like biked around. I didn't explore because like, I don't want to get caught like freaking lacking in my own neighborhood, like that guy.
Yeah.
And like, so we talked about that killing, right? And of
Hmm.
course, like every month, there's a few unjustified black people getting killed by cops.
Yeah.
So this other one came into our attention because we followed this like page that's like justice for whatever, justice for him,
Yeah.
or my mom did, and they started talking about this guy who got killed, and I don't remember which state, either Kansas or Kentucky maybe, but
Hmm.
he was at a Burger King. He was open carrying. It's an open carry state.
Yeah. Wait, what state?
I don't remember. It was either Kansas or Kentucky, I think, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure. The point is, like, you can
Yeah.
open carry in that state,
Yeah.
and he had a pistol on his like hip, right?
Hmm.
So some lady who feared for her safety called the police because there's a man menacingly standing outside with a gun
Yeah.
in an open carry state where you can carry guns on your hip.
Yeah.
Like, it was holstered, whatever. So the police pull up. They see this guy. He was like bending over in his car, like, getting some stuff out, whatever.
Yeah.
And they get out of the car. They immediately draw their guns. They're pointing their guns at him. And the cop yells at him. She's like, "Put your gun down." And he's like, "Whoa, like what's going on? Like what am I doing?" And she was like, "Put your gun down. Like put your," she keeps telling him to put his gun down, but it's in his holster, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, "Well," he's like this. He's like, "I can't." Like he's like, "Why? Like what's going on?" He's like, He's like, I have a license, whatever. It's fine. He's like trying to explain. And
Yeah.
she's like, "Put the damn gun down, whatever." So he's like, "All right, all right." And he reaches down to like put the gun down. And the second he touches it, she starts shooting at him. And she shoots him a few times. And his last words were, "But you told me to." Like he's like saying, "But you told me." And as she's shooting him, and then he died. He like bled out before the ambulance got there. And it's like, that was really big because not only did she totally mishandle the situation by like pulling up with her gun out, immediately pointing at him, yelling at him to put his gun down, like she made him touch his gun and then killed him because he touched his gun. You know what I'm saying? It made literally no sense. And then in the police report, well, okay, so the body cam footage got leaked, right?
Yeah.
And in the body cam footage, his literal last words were, "But you told me to," as he was like bleeding out and stuff. And then, like I said, he died before the ambulance got there. But in her police report, she put that he reached for his gun, which means he's a threat. So she shot him. But she like yelled at him repeatedly to put the gun down.
Yeah.
And he said, "All right, I'm going to set it down." And the second his hand touched it, she just shot him like 3 times in the back. And he was dead within like a few minutes.
Dang.
And once again, I was like, that's a perfect example of why, for instance, I was like, I'm never going to carry a gun because
Yeah.
even though it's your right, that doesn't mean that like you'll get to do it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that guy's a great example. Once they searched his body, they found in his wallet, sure enough, he had a gun license. It was legally owned, all that stuff. It's an open carry state, so you can have it holstered.
Yeah.
He was outside as well, but none of that matters.
Yeah.
And I was frustrated about it because I was like, that's a perfect example of how his, rights that are in the second, everyone talks about, oh, it's a constitutional right, it's a constitutional right. You know,
Yeah.
I was like, this is the kind of stuff, in our discussion, I was like, this is the kind of stuff that only white people can get mad about.
Yeah.
And what I meant when I said that was like, white people, as like not like you, but you know what I'm saying, like
Yeah.
as an entity, whatever. Have I was like, this is like true white privilege, you know?
Mm.
Like they'll carry, like for instance, there was a guy who carried an assault rifle, two pistols, extra ammunition into a Walmart and walked around the Walmart like for some like good Samaritan person, like who was another guy. He's like a fire chief in the city. In that
Yeah.
city, he like, pulled out his pistol, made him leave the store, and like had him like wait until the police arrived. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because this dude was just walking around like, I mean, it's one thing to be able to open carry. It's another thing to look like you're about to freaking like do work, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And he did that a week after. Remember when there was that shooting in Walmart?
Mm-hmm.
He had done that like a week after that shooting.
Dang.
And after he got arrested, he ended up not getting charged for anything because he was like, it's my Second Amendment right. He was like, I wasn't threatening anyone. I just had my guns, which I can legally own. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
of course, I was like, this is exactly what a white person can do.
Yeah.
You take an assault rifle, you could take your clips, you could take everything and walk around scaring a bunch of people, making a bunch of people literally fear for their life because there was just a mass shooting in a Walmart. The
Yeah.
next week, you decide to do the same thing, but not shoot anyone, but just, yeah, oh, it's my Second Amendment right,
Yeah.
and you live to tell the tale. Meanwhile, an unarmed black dude, just freaking going on a jog gets killed by, an ex cop retired. And then in the space of the same week, there's a guy in another state who gets killed once again by a cop who told him to touch his gun,
Yeah.
which he did as she instructed, and she literally shot him like within a second of him touching the gun. He didn't even get
Yeah.
to unholster it, like unclip it and put it on the ground, like she said.
I mean, where's the justice for these people? Are like, is that cop that shot that man? Is she getting in any trouble? Like, what's?
With her, they cleared her because they were like, well, it was a justified shooting because he touched his gun.
But she told him to.
It
Like,
doesn't
that's not.
matter. It doesn't matter. Like legally, like from the way the law is written, if you are like a threat to the police life, they can
Yeah.
kill you. They can use deadly force. He touched his gun, therefore he was deadly. She fired to like make him not deadly. He died, and then for her, it's like she didn't get like kicked off the force or anything like that or charged with any crime. They investigated it. They cleared it. They're like, it was a good shoot. He touched his gun. You did what you had to do. Even though the video clearly shows her like yelling at him to touch the gun, like she's telling him, she's like, unholster, like place your weapon on the ground. And he's like, why? And he has his hands up. He knows it's what you're supposed to do,
Yeah.
you know. But she keeps telling him, and she has a gun like aimed at his back, and she's like, don't turn around, like don't face me, all that stuff. So it's like, what do you do when you're standing there with, and her partner also was pointing the gun at him. So it's like, what do you do when you have two guns to your back? People are yelling at you. You're just at like the rest. You're just at a Burger King parking lot trying to freaking like, put your food in your car,
Yeah.
and you know what I'm saying? It's like there's no class, there's no like professionalism, and it's like you're police, like you're supposed to be trained for this. First of all, the dude was not a threat. Like when you arrived, he wasn't doing anything. His gun was holstered. It's an open carry state, but you immediately are pulling your gun and putting it in his face. It's just like it makes no sense.
Yeah.
And what's
That's
sad is like when you start looking at statistics and you look at just how many like black people are killed by police, how many of them are unarmed, or like there's a wrongful death suit filed because they get killed because the cop felt like they were in danger, even though the person was in their own neighborhood, in their own backyard, wherever it is. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. And this latest case, I already forgot his name. The guy that was jogging.
Ahmed Aubrey, yeah,
Yeah, it wasn't even a cop. It was an ex-cop.
yeah,
That's just insane.
yeah.
They're just
And
allowed to do that because they're above the law. Even when they're retired, they're somehow above the law. The DA just goes,
yeah.
whatever.
And that's the thing. It's like it's that whole like brothers in blue bullcrap, and the whole
Yeah.
that whole feeling of like entitlement they have to each other. And what's sad is like when you look at the killing of that guy at the Burger King, it's like something I noticed is they release body cam footage a lot because it's in some states like there's certain laws that mandate they have to release footage if someone's killed because that way
Mhm.
you can know it's like whatever the family can petition for it to be released. And
Yeah.
with this dude, it's like she's clearly like scared of this guy, you know,
Yeah.
even though he's fully within his rights to be carrying the gun, and he wasn't threatening anyone, you know, he
Yeah.
wasn't doing anything. She pulled her gun first, you know, and he was just getting in his car, and it's like he didn't understand the situation. Like the whole video, like it's such a short, you know, from like the beginning of the video, like within like 2 minutes, he was dead. You know what I'm saying? It's not like
Yeah.
there was much time for him to even understand what was going on. So it's like when someone pulls a gun on you, cop or not, starts yelling at you to put your gun down, it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
there's so little time and there's no explanation, there's no anything, you know.
Yeah.
And the thing is, to instruct him to put down his gun is so unbelievable because like you don't like everyone knows you don't touch your like if there's police around you don't touch a gun.
Yeah.
Like this is known, you know what I'm saying?
And he knew that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, and they cited
Yeah.
in the police report the whole reason she got cleared and not charged with anything because they put the blame on him. They said, well, because it took him a while, it took him like 45 seconds to lower his hands because he had his hands up.
Yeah.
And she kept yelling at him to touch his gun. He kept saying, why? Like, why? And they cited that as resisting arrest. Or they were like, he was not following her orders. So by the time she touched her gun, by the time when he touched his gun, like, you know, somehow that makes it justified for her to shoot him.
Yeah. I haven't seen the video. I probably won't watch the video. I hate seeing videos like
Yeah,
that.
I do too. That's like I don't watch that kind of stuff. And it's
Yeah.
funny because like I generally try to avoid that kind of energy. I know
Yeah.
bad stuff happens all the time, but I hate to like, you know, look at it and like let it like take a part of my life because then I'm sitting around frustrated or like whatever.
Yeah.
But it just became so unavoidable because every like Caprice posted about it on his story. Like everyone was
Yeah.
posting about this dude.
Saw that.
Mm.
Sorry. I
And
hope
then,
you.
you know, my mom and Isaiah kept talking about it.
Yeah.
Eventually I looked it up and it's
I
just
think.
like, it's
Yeah.
outrageous.
I saw like everyone posting about it. I
Yeah.
didn't know what was happening. I didn't research any further. I was like, oh, that's like
Mm.
I don't even I don't know because it was all people that knew each other. I just thought it was something that they all did together
Yeah.
or something, but I didn't know it was a whole big news story.
Yeah. And what's frustrating is, you know, it's like it's getting all this attention now, but it's important to remember that it happened months ago, you know,
Yeah.
and nothing was ever done or said up until this point, you know. So for
Yeah.
all those times, those guys knew, like they're walking around, like living their lives, knowing they murdered this dude, and they're just kind of like, you know, I'm friends with
Yeah.
the DA. I used to work for her. Guess I'm good, you know.
I
And
mean,
that's just kind
how
of
do
what
you
it was, you know.
yeah. How do you walk around and like live with yourself after doing that? I mean, like
Yeah.
really.
And the thing is, it calls into question, you know, how many people is this guy incarcerated? You know,
Yeah.
how many people has he arrested or, you know, all these things.
Or
And
even
it's like,
killed.
huh? Yeah.
Or
And it's
even
like,
killed. Yeah.
you know, it's really suspicious. It's kind of like, oh, you know,
Yeah.
but I think, you know, once again, the craziest thing is that guy is not the only one, you know,
Yeah.
like every month, you know, there's different, you know, jogger killed, this guy, you know, this person killed, this person killed. And it's always, you know, typically it's unarmed black men that like get a lot of attention.
Yeah.
But it's like that guy was armed, you know, the guy at the Burger King, but it's like still he was armed, like, but not in a menacing way. Like he was legally armed,
Yeah.
you know. And it's funny because I always jokingly say to Isaiah, like Isaiah always talks about we should have guns, you know. And I'm always
Yeah.
like, no, we shouldn't, dog. I was like, you know, because I can see it happening right now. It's like there's a traffic stop, you know, cops having a bad day. He decides to search my car. He finds a gun. Next thing you know, I'm getting freaking 20 warning shots to the chest.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, you can't take that risk. Like, there's just certain things that, you know, as a, you know, white American or maybe Asian American or any, as long as you're not black, you know, there are things you can do like having guns in your car, like the
Mm.
kids at school who like had their rifles mounted like on the back of their trucks,
Yeah.
like you can do that. But if I do that, I can't reasonably expect that I'm going to get home safe at night. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I have to like accept the fact that if a cop feels threatened by my like appearance,
Yeah.
and decides maybe I shoot this guy a few times, then find out what's going on, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like I read this other story right about, and I did see this video. It was these two black teenagers were having airsoft war in their backyard. The Their neighbor called the cops and said there are two boys in the backyard playing with what I think are airsoft guns, but can you come like check it out or whatever?
Yeah.
The cop arrives with that information, like knowing they're playing airsoft in the backyard,
Yeah.
their backyard. He walks around. There's like a crack in the fence.
Hmm.
He sticks his gun through, yells, "Put your hands up," and then just starts shooting.
You can't even see him.
No, he could see him through the
Oh.
crack in the fence, but he like
Yeah.
stuck his gun through his pistol, yelled, "Put your hands down," and in the body cam footage, and this was once again what made it newsworthy, he gave them less than like 1.5 seconds before he started shooting. So you have to imagine them, right? They're playing airsoft,
Yeah.
in their backyard. Next thing you know, they see, well, they weren't even facing him, so they probably didn't even see it.
Yeah.
But you just hear someone yell, "Put your guns down," and literally before you have time to like understand anything, you're just getting shot at.
Yeah.
And I don't believe that either of them died,
Hmm.
but I know that one of the kids, he was 14. He shot him like 3 times. He got shot like twice in like the lower leg and once in the back. And
Easily could have died.
yeah, and then
I mean, just to, yeah. Well, I
yeah,
just want to say, like, just because he didn't die doesn't make it okay.
well,
Or
yeah,
like justify it at all.
exactly. So so after firing off an entire clip, the cop goes over, the kid's lying there bleeding, and his friends like laying there like this.
Yeah.
He cuffs them both and then calls the ambulance. And of course the kid's like crying and stuff. And the
That's
cops all like,
traumatizing.
huh?
I said that's traumatizing.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
the cops all like, he's like, "You'll be all right. You'll be all right. I'm calling the ambulance." And he's like, he's like, "We got two and got two." He's like, "One injured." Like, and he like describes, where the kid's shot. And the kid's like, "Why'd you shoot me?" or whatever and all that stuff. And he's like, "Hey man, like you shouldn't have your gun or whatever the freak." He said something essentially just telling the kid like, "Hey, like, why are you playing airsoft in your backyard?" Like,
Yeah.
he just acted like it wasn't even like a big deal, And eventually, the ambulance arrived, took the kid to the hospital. They had to remove 2 bullets from his leg, and the one that hit him in the side went through his like stomach, so they had to
Yeah.
repair his stomach.
He
And
gets
it's
has to pay those medical bills. It's probably his family.
yeah, and that once again, that cop, he wasn't suspended. He didn't like lose any pay, didn't lose any rank, anything. You know, wasn't reprimanded because they said, he thought he was in danger, so he was cleared to fire, even though he literally gave them less than like 1.5 seconds to do anything before he just started shooting.
An airsoft gun, first of all, doesn't even look like a real gun. Second, doesn't sound like a real gun. And
Third
even
of
if they,
all, they called the police and said there are kids
what,
playing with what I believe are airsoft guns. So he also knew,
yeah.
like he knew full well what was going on when he got there.
So he went in knowing these are probably airsoft guns. They look like airsoft guns. They sound like airsoft guns.
Yeah.
But you just gotta shoot. Like, and you said a second and a half after saying put your guns down.
Yeah. Like in the video, like and they show the video, the body cam footage once it got leaked. So in
Yeah.
the footage, all you can see is like the crack in the fence, and you see like, first of all, he gets out of his car, he walks around. You hear in the
Yeah.
back, and you can hear like in the audio, you can hear like the kids like, "Hey, like get down, like run." You hear
Yeah.
like the airsoft gun sound. He walks around. You can hear that they're like back there, and he's all like he called for backup. He goes around, there's like a fence, and he's like, I have a visual, and he sticks his gun through. He's like, put your guns down, and you just and you start shooting. But it's like, put your guns down. That opening fire. It's like, is that how it works? Is that how being a policeman works?
Yeah. I mean, apparently now.
So it's like, and once again, that's a situation where the family tried to like bring it up in court, and of course they just cleared him because at the end of the day, like, who has jurisdiction? Who gets to decide whether or not his shooting was justified?
Yeah. That
You
just
know,
comes down to checks and balances, really.
yeah,
Of like the judicial system should be separate from the police force. But everyone knows each other.
yeah, exactly,
The judge knows that police officer, knows his family, probably went to dinner with them, was like freaking chumming it up. They don't
yeah,
want to charge him with, you know, you almost killed this kid for no good reason.
yeah,
I mean, that's insane.
yeah.
And it like that stuff happens all the time too. And when you say leak the body cam footage, that's not public knowledge, the body cam stuff.
No, like it was like, well,
It
that
has
guy's
to be
body
leaked.
cam footage.
Yeah.
With that guy's footage, that got like released to the defense team, like, or to the maybe the prosecution team, I guess. That got released to that guy's family.
But it didn't get released to the public. Someone had to like jimmy it out of there and like
Well,
get
well,
it
they
released.
can decide to release it publicly. They gave it to like news, like media, and the media like spread it.
Yeah.
But
I was just wondering how like transparent it is with the body cam footage and everything.
yeah, well,
How
the
transparent.
footage, the footage in the video shows from when he gets out of his car to when he fires the shots,
Yeah.
and then it shows when he's cuffed the kids, and he's like telling the kid like, "You'll be all right. I called an ambulance." Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And he's like, are you? He's like, just breathe, like, blah blah. Like, pretty much explaining him like how to not die, or not, he's whatever.
Yeah.
But it's like, I just think it's so crazy. And then even when talking to the kid in the video, the cops being like condescending, like it's his fault.
Yeah.
I'm like, they're playing airsoft in their own backyard. You fired bullets. You fired a full clip into their backyard. Like, you stuck your gun through their fence.
Yeah.
Like, like it's like he joined the airsoft game, but with a real pistol. Like, I played airsoft in my backyard before with my brothers. It's like we're yelling at each other. We're like, running around. We're like, firing.
Yeah.
If someone just randomly yells, "Put your guns down," and then next thing you know, like, gunfire is just going off. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
How could you possibly know what to do? And the thing is, he didn't give him time to do anything anyway. He didn't give him any instructions other than put your gun down. And
Yeah.
before they could even realistically like set him down, or like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it just doesn't
Yeah.
make sense. There's no logical progression of events where he yells, "Put your guns down," without saying, "I'm the police. The police are here." Like, there's nothing. There's nothing.
Yeah.
They're playing in their backyard. He goes around to their backyard, shoots them in their backyard.
And
It's
they're
like
kids.
it's like they're literally not even safe at their own home.
Yeah. And they're just kids. They're like, what did you say, 14?
Yeah, it was 14 and 12 or something. 14, 13.
Dang.
Yeah.
I used to run around my whole neighborhood playing airsoft.
Yeah. Like, and
Like,
my friend Jack did that. Like, they played airsoft out in there. He lived in that neighborhood, the one with like the golf course beside it.
yeah.
Yeah, he lived there, and they did an airsoft war, multiple airsoft wars, and they had to go through the neighborhood playing airsoft.
Yeah. That's what I used to do in my old neighborhood.
Yeah, so it's like, and it's funny because I always used to say, like, that's the reason when they went, I didn't join them.
Yeah.
Because it's always a joke. Like, that's one of my like jokes I always make. I'm like, look, if I go with you guys, like, I'll catch like 30 warning shots to the chest or like whatever. I'm like, I'm not doing it. And it's like funny because not funny, but even that situation that I've joked about has literally happened. Like, pretty much every situation I've joked about when it comes to getting killed just for essentially being black and like in the wrong place at the wrong time. It's like it's happened to somebody.
Yeah. Dang.
Yeah.
How do like where where does this solution come from? How do we solve this?
Well, I think I think for one, it's like we need to train like police well. I mean, because at
Yeah.
the end of the day, like it's not the majority, right? The majority of cops don't kill people, for no reason or give little time.
Yeah.
But another thing is like people need to like look at their own fears and prejudices and really address that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it comes from. It's like you have to be able to see a black person and not immediately just go danger, 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 danger.
Yeah.
It's like as a policeman or woman, it's like you have a lot of power. You know, you have a literal like freaking kill stick in your pocket, and something I always think about is like exhaust your options. You know,
Yeah.
when this guy at the Burger King, was out there with his gun that, as far as he legally owns, he has every right to carry. He's not
Yeah.
threatening anyone. He's not facing you, nor is he like he's getting in his car. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Instead of jumping out of your car, drawing your gun, and immediately like yelling commands at him, maybe draw your taser.
Yeah.
Maybe, just maybe, exhaust one of your non-lethal options before immediately like making it a life or death situation,
Yeah.
because that's something that I think is done far too little. A lot of times when you hear about these wrongful deaths, it's always the same thing. The cop pulls up, they immediately draw their pistol. Next thing you know, their gun's in someone's face. And that's just what it is. It's like at that point, right there, all of the danger is the cop's not the one in danger.
Yeah.
I think it's such BS that people talk about, oh, the cop. Police kill way more people than people kill police,
Yeah.
statistically, which makes sense to some degree because there are more like citizens than there are cops.
Yeah.
But when you look at how many cops are killed in the line of duty versus how many people are killed by the cops, the numbers don't really make sense.
Yeah.
You're like, the cop is the one with the power here. The cop is the threat. And that's something that, as a black person, you understand. A lot of
Mhm.
people don't see it that way. Like, most people think, oh, the police will protect me. But I always look at it as the police are supposed to protect me. But if at any point I'm out of line, they become the threat.
Yeah.
You know, even the resource officer at school, you know, like at the end of the day, he had a gun, you know,
Yeah.
and if I got into a fight or something and he felt like that was his necessary option, I could have very easily died, you know, it's a dumb altercation.
Yeah.
And it's like, so that's a reality, like you have to understand. And I think, I think different people don't understand it because they never have to think that way.
Mhm.
But it's like, it's a real thing.
Yeah.
That's what frustrates me the most is like when people get killed in the way that guy at Burger King did. It's like there was no room for him to live. It's
Yeah.
like they gave him no room like the second she pulled up, his fate was sealed. Like he was going to die in that parking lot because she immediately pointed her gun at him. She didn't give him any time to like respond. She didn't try to reason with him. She didn't say lay down, put your hands to the head. We'll come and like walk up, like do what you're supposed to do. Do your job. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Make him late. Like, he had his hands up. He clearly was not trying to hurt anyone. He was scared. You could hear it in his voice.
Yeah.
He was, scared and indignant because he didn't understand why he was getting, guns pointed at him, and they were yelling at him to put his gun down. Well, he's like, what did I do? He literally said, what did I do? What did I do? So it's like he doesn't understand the situation. He's a deer in headlights.
Yeah.
And it's like, it pisses me off that every time, what do the cops say? I was scared. You were scared. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't realize that pointing a gun at someone was so terrifying.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that when someone's standing there like this, not facing you, asking what's going on, saying, what did I do? I didn't realize that was so scary.
Yeah.
You're pointing something at him that could literally end his life. and you're just so scared. You know, like that makes
Yeah.
no sense. It's such BS, and that's always what the cops say. Well, I was scared. I feared for my life. Why? It's like you made it a life or death situation. If you draw your taser, even if you pull up and just tase the dude, you don't even say anything because once again he's getting in his car. He's not even facing her. If
Yeah.
you get out of your car and just tase him in the back, just
Yeah.
because you're scared, you know, whatever. Okay, at least he's not dead. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? He
It's
gets tased,
yeah.
and you know clearly in the video he wasn't stupid. He wasn't going to do anything.
Yeah.
He just would have got tased that day. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But because she gets out, immediately goes to her lethal tool, you know, it's like you're raising the stakes unnecessarily. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I know what you're saying. Um, yeah, I mean, I've never heard a story of I don't even think I've heard a realistic story of someone getting tased by the police, but I always see police when I see them walking around, I see them with the taser.
Yeah,
Why aren't they trained to use that?
they are. That's the thing. And they're taught in the academy to, like, there's steps. It's literally a step by step procedure. You're supposed to exhaust your options. You're supposed to start by trying to calm the person down or like get an understanding of the situation.
Yeah.
So you talk first. If that doesn't work, you can go to either a baton or like a taser. And if it's like a life or death thing, you know, people's lives are in danger, your life's directly in danger, you can go to your lethal option, which is your pistol.
Yeah.
She literally got out of her car and immediately was like, pistol out
Yeah.
on him. It's like, what the freak are you doing? Like, this isn't Call of Duty. This isn't freaking Grand Theft Auto. You don't
Yeah.
like hop out with the stick. You know what I'm saying? It irritates me to no end to like see footage of, you know, cops just killing people because it's like, you're such cowards. At the end of the day,
Yeah.
that's what it is. They're scared. They're so scared. They are like, I don't know if they have time to think rationally, but you think they would on the way, you know?
And they're cops. They're supposed to be the
They're
ones that are
supposed
cool
to
and
be.
calm and collected.
You know, it's funny. It's a funny dynamic. I look at it the same. It reminds me of like as a kid, I get like spanked. You know, like you
Yeah.
know, with a belt or a hand. You know,
Yeah.
there was physical discipline. I gained an appreciation for the repercussions of my actions at a very young age.
Hmm.
And what I understood, because my dad's thing was he would spank us if he was mad, right?
Yeah.
And what I learned is it doesn't matter what I like if I'm right or wrong. Once he gets it in his head that I've earned a like spanking, I'm getting hit, you know,
Yeah.
because he's gonna come at me. He's bigger than me. He's stronger than me. He's in front of the door. I'm getting hit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I have to accept that. I think, you know, I genuinely think the way people think is so shaped by their childhood. And I think, you know, when you look at how many white people get spanked by their parents versus, you know, black kids getting spanked by their parents,
Mm.
you know, more black kids get spanked. And I think the way that we view authority is just different, you know?
Yeah.
I think that's the reason you'll see more, you know, white kids going to protests and rallies and getting in cops' face like, yeah, you suck, too. Like, yeah, you know,
Yeah.
they don't understand that if that cop felt like it, they could be dead in seconds. And does it really matter? Because what are they going to say? Oh no, like they wouldn't shoot me. And if they did, like, oh, you know, they go to court, they lose their job. No, they wouldn't.
Yeah.
No, they wouldn't. They would literally have an investigation opened. They would say, yeah, that makes sense. Like that, they'd find a way to justify the shooting.
Yeah.
The cops going to tell you about their life. You're dead. You know?
And you'd be looking down from heaven, just like, what?
Yeah. So it's like,
Message.
yeah. So it's like that's what I learned, right? I learned in this scenario of like me as a kid having done something bad. I was like, my dad's frustrated. He feels the belt is like the reasonable option. I, as the person, you know, I'm like, so I get the belt. That's just how it works, you know. In the same, that's how I look at like a situation with a cop. You know, when I get pulled over, it's totally their game.
Yeah.
They've got me cornered. What do I have? I have nothing. In fact, I have less than nothing. I'm in the negative
Yeah.
because I'm black. So somehow they pull up and they're scared of me. They're the one with a gun. They're the one not only with a gun, but the license to kill me. They could literally kill me and they won't find themselves in a jail cell that night. because they're a cop. So
Yeah.
it's like, who has the right to be scared there? In that
Yeah.
situation, who has the right to be scared? Really, it should be me who's scared. And that's why, a lot of black people talk about being scared of getting pulled over, you
Yeah.
know, because, when you think about it really logically, we're the ones who should be scared, not
Yeah.
them. Because I really would like to see the statistics on how many times a cop has like pulled someone over or went to like an incident. And for instance, there's like, it's a statistic because it happens so much.
Yeah.
You look up unarmed black man killed by police, welcome to a plethora of articles and videos and body cam footage. you
Yeah.
know
And
how
people,
I Yeah, I just want to know how many unarmed black men have spontaneously killed the police. You
yeah.
know, I'd love to know. Unarmed, no
How would
no
they do
threat. You know,
that? That would be a great thing to see. How would they do it?
yeah, it's like really. So it's
Yeah.
like, I think all these times when you said like, how do we fix it? I think all these times you look at people getting killed, it's a common theme of the cops not thinking rationally
Yeah.
because they're too busy being scared. Like when you go to a house, all the lady said on the call, this is per the what do they call it? The person who answers the calls.
The operator.
Yeah, this is per the operator. Her testimony was that lady, the lady who called, said she saw two boys in their backyard playing with what she thought were airsoft guns, but she wasn't sure and she wanted the police to come check it out. They dispatched this officer. That's the information he's going to the scene with. There are kids in their own backyard playing with what seem to be airsoft guns. No one's in danger or anything. She just isn't sure and wants someone to check on it.
Yeah.
With that information in mind, he walks around the backyard, sticks his gun through the fence, opens fire, then says more than just put your guns down.
Yeah.
After he shot the 14-year-old kid 3 times in the body. Then he wants to say something. Then he wants to like, all right, put your hands on your head. I'm coming in.
Yeah.
So busy worrying about his own life because, these kids are going to turn on him and just light him up with these airsoft guns. I mean, they're really going to pop off just, airsoft guns just tearing
Yeah.
up his flesh, apparently.
Yeah.
So scared for his own life. Or lady at the Burger King, There's a
Yeah.
man standing at a Burger King. He has a pistol. On the way, you're on call. Okay, this is open carry state. He's not threatening anyone.
Yeah.
He's in public in the open. Okay, she pulls up. She sees him standing there. He's getting into his car. I should grab my pistol, point it at him, and start yelling at him to put his gun down.
Yeah.
Yeah, she hopped out the car. Like, it wasn't like she got out calmly. She put your gun on down. Put your gun on the ground. And he's like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That's a military state. That's like
Yeah,
that's intimidating. That's just wrong. That's just
yeah. It's like, and once again, it's infuriating to me because with that guy, there were 2 cops, both pointing their guns at him. He's pointing his gun at no one. His gun is holstered. And yet he's the threat. He's the scary one. He's the person who the judge decided was a danger to that cop's life, which justified her killing him. He had 2 guns on him. His gun probably on safety, not even ready to fire. They had 2 guns live, ready to shoot, pointed at his back. And yet he's the threat. Like, okay,
Yeah. If they find someone with gunshots in their back, normally, like a gunshot victim, they find them with gunshots in their back, the person immediately gets jail time. Because if you shoot someone in the back, that's immediate jail time for you.
Yeah, unless you're a cop.
Well, unless you're a cop. Exactly.
Yeah.
Like a normal cop shouldn't be above the law just because they're on the clock.
Yeah.
That's just, I don't know. That's just such a huge institutional problem.
Yeah.
It happens everywhere. It's not just subject to one state,
Yeah.
one like area in one state. It's everywhere. I mean, like, how does this keep happening? Why does it keep happening? We need to start asking these questions. but it just seems like it just keeps happening. No
Yeah,
one's training these police people to properly do this, or if they are, they're obviously not taking it.
yeah, and it's
Something
like,
is like there's a disconnect. I don't know where it comes from, but we need to start figuring it out.
yeah. All right, I'm gonna like let's like hold up for 1 second. I'm gonna grab a water. We could like cut this part out because I'm just gonna. I'll be right back.
Well, I think we're getting close to an hour.
Are we?
I think we're at like 45 minutes maybe. So yeah, just go
All
get
right,
the water. We can cut this part
all
out.
right, all right. Repeat.
What a fun episode this has been. Our first two episodes, we got Gravity Falls, we had the politics, we had trolls, we had BoJack Horseman, and now we're just like, yeah, unarmed black people get shot all the time by policemen, and no one knew it. No one
Yeah,
does anything about it. It's insane.
yeah. I mean, I wasn't trying to like. That's the. That's why I didn't want to bring it up because
Yeah,
like I was frustrated about it for like 2 days. I thought about like making a post, but then I was like, no, because I think it's like you don't want to like. It's frustrating,
yeah,
and it's personal for me because I felt that fear before,
yeah,
like I know what it's like to think to myself, like I hope I don't, it's part of the reason I've always liked wearing glasses and
yeah,
like looking nerdy. I was like, hopefully this makes me look like less of a, thug,
yeah,
so that I don't get freaking killed because, I've always lived in the South and I've always been treated differently by, authority figures. So it's like, I've always grappled with that like reality of kind of knowing that I was on a tighter leash,
yeah,
and it's like something that I always think about is like every time there's a school shooting, right?
yeah,
Kind of interesting how the school shooters that don't kill themselves end up getting arrested.
yeah,
You know, like they just turn their school into a shooting gallery. They're still armed and dangerous, and yet somehow the police manage to find a way to cuff them and take them in without harming them at
yeah.
all.
And
Like
yet, when you go to a Burger King, they can't figure out that they can't navigate that complex situation.
exactly. Or like when you're in your own backyard, you know, playing airsoft with your brother, you can't expect not to get shot. Because once again, not only did that happen, but they got no compensation. Like they still had to pay the medical bills. You know, they had to pay a doctor to take literal like bullets that like they paid for in taxes out of their son's body because he was playing airsoft in his own backyard. And yet, you look at school shooters, like all of them that haven't killed themselves, and they always get arrested uninjured, not a hair on their head touched. They cuff
Yeah,
them, don't even break their wrist. I mean, it's just it's fine. Oh, this kid just killed like 20 of his classmates, but don't worry about it. We got him.
yeah,
We made sure to take him in safely. He's unharmed. Make sure this kid gets a trial. You know,
yeah.
and it's just like, what does that say? Or Dylan Roof, Dylan Roof, you know who that is, right?
I'm
Shot
sorry.
shot up that church in Charleston.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I do. Yeah,
One second.
yeah, I do remember that now.
Try to take Benadryl because my allergies, but I freaking suck at taking pills apparently.
I saw your facial expression.
Yeah, like it touched like the roof of my mouth, and I was like, Benadryl, and I was like,
They
freaking
don't taste good. They don't.
yeah, they don't.
You know?
But yeah, so my mom always talks about this. Dylan Roof shot up
Yeah,
a church, killed like some children, some teens, some adults, and some elderly people.
yeah,
Committed a hate crime, domestic terrorist,
yeah.
gets arrested, said he was hungry. The police took him to Burger King on the way to the station
Really.
and got him food before he was like booked and processed. So we've got innocent, unarmed teenagers getting shot and killed. We've got Dylan Roof, who turned a church into a shooting range.
Had a completely different experience at a Burger King.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Well, yeah, they got that guy. Yeah, very different experience, you know? Oh, you're hungry? Well, you know what? We got time to stop at Burger King before we book you,
Yeah.
you know? What do you want? Quarter pound? Oh, this is Burger King. Whopper? Get Dylan a Whopper, guys.
Yeah.
What?
That's insane.
Not only did they take him to Burger King, they got him food, let him eat it, then processed him and booked him. And it's like, had he been black, one, he wouldn't have done that, because when you look at mass shooters, they're all white, pretty much, I think. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure, like, as far as school shooters go, they've been white, you know?
Yeah, as far as the school shooters that I've seen it.
Or domestic terrorists, and like domestic terrorism at like that level, mass shooters like that,
Yeah.
you know,
I'd have to
been,
look up the statistic. I don't
yeah.
know.
I mean, I'm saying everyone I've heard about or read about recently or in my lifespan has been a white guy.
Yeah.
But it's like, you know, this dude literally just murdered a bunch of people, ruined a bunch of lives forever. Literally killed, like, I think the youngest person he killed was 4, and the oldest person he killed was like in their 70s.
Jesus.
Like, they're just at Bible study, dog. Like, what the freak, you know?
Yeah.
You arrest him. After that, you know what happened, and you still take him to Burger King because he's hungry.
Yeah.
Okay, like, you know, that's fair. That makes sense. I get it. You know, hey, he might be a mass shooter. He might have just murdered a bunch of people, but he's hungry, dog.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do? Like, take him to the prison on an empty stomach? Oh, not
Yeah.
me. I'm a good cop. All right. Hey, what did he do? Just shot up a church? I hear you, Sergeant.
Yeah.
But he's hungry.
Oh. Hi, hungry. I'm Dad.
Yeah, it's just like, okay, you know, there's some equality in the system for you.
Yeah. I think South Park had a really good bit about it where who was the first cop, or not the first cop, but the really popular one that killed that really young black guy?
I don't know.
Like he was like a kid.
Yeah.
And it was a terrible story.
Oh, the guy who killed Trayvon Martin.
Yeah, him. Yeah. He was like in a South Park episode.
Mm.
Not actually his voice act, but like the character.
Yeah.
And Cartman had snuck up to his house in blackface,
Mm.
and the cop, the guy just like shot him like 3 times.
Mm.
And then when the police came, they was like, "Oh man, you were defending yourself. It's great." And then one of the cops went over there. Wait, this is a white kid. And then it shows him like getting the electric chair, just
Oh yeah.
shot up. Like,
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know. That just popped into my head.
yeah. It's like, you know, I like, once again, I like to stay on good vibes. I like to like enjoy my life, you know.
Yeah.
So it's like, I hate to look at things like systematic racism and all that kind of stuff. Like, for instance, when you look at the way, even the wording and how news sources will write about different people.
Yeah. Oh
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
people, I mean, they were writing about Dylan Roof being a troubled youth, you know,
Yeah.
a misguided soul, you know, a child who lived through a series of unfortunate events. But then you look at, you know, a black kid who gets arrested for drug possession or something, and he's a thug. He's a miscreant, you know.
Yeah.
He's been involved in criminal activity for a long time, you know. All these things. Totally different view of the person, you know. You look at incarceration rates of African Americans on petty drug charges in private prisons, and you're like, like, you know, there are a lot of private prisons where 80%, you know, 70% of the people incarcerated are in there on petty drug charges, like 3 to 5 year possession of marijuana, whatever.
Yeah.
At the same exact time, you know, and you know, they're criminals. They're like all these things, you know, forgotten by society. But then, or like that kid who shot up at school in California, You know, you've got news sources literally saying how he was like he had all these troubles in his life and all these challenges, you know, and how if he could have had help from these people, or here's how the system failed him,
Yeah.
oh, so you're telling me, these guys who are in prison, whose dads were also in prison, their moms were on crack or something like that. They grew up with no family, no support from the society. They were looked down upon. They were treated differently. They weren't protected by the police, but were instead, threatened by them for their entire lives. And you say, well, he turned to selling drugs or he turned to violence. That's a thug right there. That is a
Yeah.
thug. That is he's dangerous. Shouldn't be allowed back into society. But yet we can find ways to justify mass shootings and talk about how the shooters are really the victim of society. But all of these guys in prison for drug charges and for fights or gang related stuff, like, those are their only options. They grow up in a war zone, but they're the ones who are like dangerous and all this stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, the most for me, like the most like staggering statistic is like when you look at places like Chicago or like other like places with a lot of gang related violence,
Yeah.
and you'll see that more people get killed there in a year than will like have soldiers killed in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
And it's like this is like the war zone, Afghanistan, where like our military is there, constantly engaging with people who are literally opposing like everything we stand for as a country.
Yeah.
They're supposed to be like our terrorists, like our truest enemies. But then we have like certain neighborhoods or blocks that have more murders
Yeah.
than a war zone
All
in
of
a
Chicago.
year.
That's
Huh?
where Chicago got the nickname Chirac,
Yeah.
because it was just it at one point got like to a great to I don't know what the statistic was exactly, but they were killing people at a rate
Yeah.
similar to Afghanistan.
I mean, I remember I read something about how 4th of July weekend, something like 60 people got shot within like a 5 mile radius. Like, can you imagine if something like that happened in Lexington, South Carolina? Think about a 5 mile radius.
Yeah.
Think about 60 people getting shot. Like, I'm like, there's never even probably been a shooting in Lexington. Like, not really. Like, not like anything. I mean, if
Yeah.
there has, it's been a few. It's been a few.
Yeah.
But they had 60 people shot in a 2 day span, and it wasn't even that much of a spike on their charts.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a spike because it was 4th of July weekend, and they were talking about how they're like, it's always a place with a high like shooting, a high rate of shooting and murders.
Yeah.
But that particular weekend, it was just wild. But I'm just like, how can we have like somewhere in our own country? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, these people are taxpayers. They go to school. They go to like work, and yet their neighborhoods are not safe. I mean, like, it's such an interesting thing. And if you say, well, what if that happened to somewhere like Lexington? Everyone will say, well, that couldn't happen in Lexington because Lexington's not like there, you
Yeah.
know? And it's like, yeah, I agree. Like, that wouldn't happen there. But it's like, it really, begs the question of why we let that happen in the first place and what it says about how we view people.
Yeah.
I think, when you look at it objectively, the media, the American conscience does not value a black life, especially a black male life, but no, female as well. They just don't value a black life, like virtually at all,
Yeah.
or Hispanic life, or pretty much any minority. Your life just isn't that valuable. The media doesn't care. The people at large don't care. So it's like when you look at the statistics, and you see just how many, you know, black men between the ages of like 14 and 25 get murdered every year. They're like, guys, watch this. Like they shrug. They're like, who cares? Like, it doesn't matter. that's literally just like nothing to, to the system at large. Most media outlets don't give a freak. But then something like this happens to Ahmed Aubrey, and it's like, if only he was the only one,
Yeah.
if only that was like an exception, but it's not. And I think that's the real problem. And it's like, if you look deeper into it, it's like, it's just so disheartening what you'll find.
Yeah.
That's why for me, I'm just like,
Yeah.
gotta stay out of those areas, free.
Yeah. That's why I stay out of it. It's just like sad. I don't know. I don't know what else to say. It's like it's a broken system. It's evil. It's wrong. I don't want to hear about it. Like I
Yeah,
hate to say that because like ignorance fuels the problem or whatever. But it's like that's
yeah,
I'm trying to stay more positive in
yeah,
my mindset and like what I consume.
yeah. And that's the reality. At the end of the day, the reality is there are a bunch of people who are, being, murdered, raped, beaten, totally left behind by society. And most of the population is like, for my own mental health,
Yeah.
I don't really want to think about that. And so we don't. I'm not like trying to single you out, because I do the same thing. I literally am like, I don't want to read that. I don't want to hear about that. Don't show me the video, because that's not our reality.
Yeah. And
You and
it's
I,
yeah.
even as a black person, I still have a very different reality.
Yeah.
I've never like seen violence like that. I've never, I will say one of my cousins was murdered, you know, in a gang related incident.
Yeah. I remember you telling me about
And it's like something, that's an interesting statistic. You can look at like a black person, and you could say, has you or any of your like family been murdered, you know?
that. Yeah.
And most black people would say yes, my cousin, my uncle, whoever, they got
Yeah.
murdered, they got stabbed, they got shot, whatever. Where most white people are like, well, no, of course not. Like, what? And it's just like, it's a reality. And once again, I mean, I've had cousins or family members, relatives on both sides of my family, mom's and dad's side, who've been murdered. And it's like, my parents made sure to keep us out of those environments, so we never grew up around that violence or that whatever.
Yeah.
But it's like, that's still a reality. But at the end of the day, even with that in mind, I still don't want to like, I don't want to, like, I don't, it's like, because I think with every, all of us, the problem with, you know, problems in society
Yeah.
is there's such large scale problems. It's hard to say, how do I as an individual face up against this great problem?
Yeah.
Like Garrett Burkett cannot just say like, I feel like systematic racism shouldn't be a thing
Yeah.
any more than I could. Like
Yeah.
everyone's only really in control of themselves. And that's why, I still wanted to talk about it with you, just because, I don't know,
Yeah. It's important. It's
you
an
know,
important issue.
but it's like, I just think, I think the best thing people can do is kind of like, just like, try to be aware of prejudices,
Yeah.
and like do what you can to like counteract them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, you've grown up in like, the South, the Christian South, like all this stuff. And
Yeah.
yet you still have, you have this wide friend group. You talk to people with different ethnicities, all these things. And it's like, my brothers just got back from the store, but it's like, like I feel comfortable. I'm like, if Garrett was a cop, I
Yeah.
never read about Garrett freaking like popping off on some fool
Yeah.
for nothing. And I feel like, what's like, it's like when I think about people I knew in Lexington, I'm like, a majority of the people I've met, I didn't feel like there was like subtle racism or like whatever,
Yeah.
but I was like, these people aren't like a threat. I didn't feel like I was threatened by them. You know what I'm saying? I didn't feel like they like had like any hatred or whatever.
Mhm.
But it's like, so I think it's like only the minority.
Yeah.
And the thing about that minority is just like, the whole thing. The best thing you can do is try to like make the minority smaller.
Yeah.
Like I always think back to like remember Miss okay, a teacher, I don't want to say her name, but one of my teachers at Lexington, a lot of my teachers actually, you know, they usually tell me about halfway through the class, like, Eric, I just want to say, like, you really are different than what I expected,
Yeah.
like you really defy, the stereotypes, and I hate to stereotype, but I do. And I have to admit that, you're very bright, you're very eloquent, I like how you're engaged and blah, blah.
Yeah.
And it's weird because teachers are essentially saying, I thought you were just another black kid, but you're not. And that's weird. They're essentially like, thank you for not being like all the other black kids, you
That's
know?
I
And,
don't. Yeah.
I was specifically told that like at least 8 times at Lexington High School by different teachers.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's one of those things where I was like, thanks. And I never was frustrated or felt any type of way about it. I felt proud. I was like, well, it's good to know that I can like break your idea of what a black student has to be.
Yeah.
And it's sad that like you have such a small sample size that like you could say like this is what a black student is, and then
Yeah.
say to me, well, you're not that. And that surprised me.
Yeah.
Like you're like 60 plus years old, and I can't believe I'm surprising you with the fact that I'm not, rude, or the fact that I speak well and like all that stuff,
Yeah.
you know. But it's like I just think if everybody like, because once again, it's at the end of the day, it's the minority that's like the problem. But it's like I'm really big on everyone just doing what they can.
Yeah.
It's like even like I think a big thing is like in cartoons and in like shows, like inclusion.
Yeah.
An inclusion where it's not like you don't say like this is a black man. See how he is black because his skin is dark.
Yeah.
Yeah, like like I thought about like in Frozen 2.
Mhm.
There's like random black people.
Yeah.
Like I was literally in the theater and I was like, "That's a lot of black people. What's
Yeah.
what's happening?" Like that's
Yeah.
how jarring it is to see black people in the Disney movie, which is like the mainstream like family movie makers.
Yeah.
And you're just like, what are they doing here? What are you trying to say? You know what I'm saying?
You're trying to make a statement or something by
Yeah,
including a black character? What?
exactly. And it's like that's how it feels. And I'm like, that shows that like there's still obviously like stuff.
Yeah.
And but I think with every generation it gets less and less because,
Yeah.
for instance, kids in the theater seeing that, it's not weird to them.
No.
To them, they're just characters in the movie.
Yeah.
And yet to us, we're old enough, we have experience. We're like,
Yeah.
this isn't like what I saw when I was younger.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think as generations progress, it gets better and better.
Yeah.
And
And
I
it's
think more, oh, go ahead.
no, you can go ahead.
Yeah. And I think the more that like, I think the most underrated like social justice people, not social justice, I don't remember the word. The people I think who drive like our understanding of each other are people in entertainment.
Yeah.
I really like when I'm watching like a cartoon or a movie, something like that, and I can see inclusion or like diversity, but it's not like they're not trying to get you to stare at it. They're not like look at
Yeah.
it. Oh God, this is a minority group. Yeah, you know what I
Yeah.
mean. But when it's just there, and as a viewer, it can normalize you. And I think it's weird, like how I realize how some people really just aren't normalized, or how people have preconceived notions.
Yeah.
Like remember that time when the news was being watched and somebody was all like, "Where'd he come from? Jail or like whatever?"
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
it's like that could show how, without any like you know bad intentions or anything like that, you can have a thought like that.
Yeah.
It's like it's not like that was coming from a bad place. It
Yeah.
was just a genuine thought. It just
Yeah.
happens to be like not the most flattering one.
Yeah.
But it's like even someone like that who for sure has met people from different ethnicities, has some has experience,
Yeah.
probably taught kids, and all that stuff. The ideas can still be there. Just because you see a black guy, you're like, dang, bro, like wonder what kind of crimes he does. You know, like freaking. Because I think the same thing. Like I come from Lexington. Like for my like a majority of my like upbringing of being
Yeah.
older, it's like I stereotype all the time. Like I'm just as bad about it as someone else could be. I just try to be active and be like, okay, dog, like, can you chill?
Yeah.
Like when I was at Trident, and like I remember distinctively thinking, because in my class it was like me and like four other black dudes, and I was like, this is the most black people I've ever seen in one class. Like this is crazy.
Yeah.
Like it really was. I'd never had that many black guys in my class before, and there's only four, but freak, that's a lot for
Yeah.
me. And you know, they had like two of them had dreads, and one of them had a normal haircut, and I remember thinking like, I wonder what, like, I was like, these guys are probably going to be like really quiet or like standoffish or whatever. I didn't know anything, and I just kind of assumed they'd be like, you know, kind of everything you'd stereotype when you see a bunch of big black dudes.
Yeah.
As someone with like little experience,
Yeah.
like not really having ever talked to people, and like as we like hung out though in class, I found out they were like really nice dudes. Like they just totally defied my expectations.
Yeah.
And I realized I was like, even as a black person, I have so many stereotypes and so many stuff that just comes with where I'm from. You know, I think that's where people have to do the most work. Is like it's like if you don't know something about another group of people, just try to tell yourself maybe you don't know what the freak's going on.
Yeah.
So it's like I think I hate because people in the media,
Yeah.
like
We should talk.
contextualize your writing.
Yeah.
You know,
Just wrap it up because we're
yeah.
getting. I think we're pushing an hour.
Oh yeah, well yeah.
Like
So
an hour and a half.
moral of the story is don't be a racist piece of trash.
Yeah, exactly. I think
You know?
that's the whole moral of this podcast, and that may even be the name. Don't be a racist piece of trash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, all right. I'll stop it here.
Yeah. Well, and now.
All right.